I got a smile out of this man here.
Yeah.
We've got someone we want to introduce to my TV viewers tonight. What's your name, young man?
My name is James, middle initial C, last name Fields, Jr.
Wow, I'm a Fields. We got to check that last name out, yeah. All right, tell them what you're doing. You know more about you than I do.
First, thank you, Jazz, and to everyone who is watching by way of whichever way you're picking this up. My name is James C. Fields, Jr. I'm running for governor of the great state of Alabama. And I'm running because I believe without change, nothing changes. And it's time for a change. It's time for us to move Alabama forward. It's a time for us to talk about what really matters among families and the family issues that we face each and every day. It's not about James Fields being a Democrat and running to beat Republicans. It's about James Fields running to serve you. Because we want everyone to vote for us. We want everyone to be included because I believe in inclusiveness. That's the only way that Alabama is going to survive, is that we begin to look out for one another, because no one else will. And Alabama has too much to offer, and we just have the wrong people sitting at the offering plate. And so we believe that by us giving of ourselves, giving everything that we have, we just believe that Alabama can do better. And we want to be a part of that, and we want to lead Alabama in that direction by moving Alabama forward. We have an 11-point plan, beginning with affordable health care for everybody in Alabama. And we believe that every citizen in Alabama should have a right to some type of affordable health care. And by doing that, the first thing we would do, if we are elected, is to sign an executive order accepting the Medicaid expansion. Because the Medicaid expansion provides health care for over 150,000 of our children, all kids. It also provides the donut hole as far as the deductible that people have to pay who are on fixed income, Social Security or Medicaid or Medicare. And it pays that. Since we did not accept the Medicaid expansion under the previous two administrations, Alabama has lost jobs, a number of jobs. We've lost hospitals. Hospitals have been closing throughout our state. And they've been closing in our rural areas where people need health care the most. People who can't afford to drive a long distance or don't have the means of transportation to get back and forth to the doctor. And so what we plan to do is to make sure that we reopen or we sign the Medicaid expansion so that at least we can provide some type of health care for folks in our rural areas. Then the next thing we would look at is our education, how we are educating our children. And of course we know a healthy child learns better. And so that's one reason why the Medicaid expansion needs to be accepted. Again, you're talking about $1.9 billion we've lost. And the first thing that the big cry was, well, we're not going to accept it because the federal government's only going to pay for it for the first 3 years, and then we have to start picking up a certain percentage each year. Well, we need to pick up a certain percentage each year. We pride ourselves on being a state that works. We pride ourselves on a state that can provide for herself. And so let's do that. But at least it won't ever get below 50%. And Alabama is a taker state. For every dollar that we send to Washington in tax dollars, they send us $3 back. So Alabama is a beneficiary of every tax dollar that we spend. And we're a beneficiary of the tax dollars that Washington sends us. But getting back to education, folks, we've got to do something with education. And therefore we got to find a way, and we have a way to get to funding our school systems. A lot of people say, well, lottery will be the answer. Well, lottery has been an issue since I served as a state legislator in 2008, 2009, and 2010. The problem is that you have legislators who promises you that the people want to vote and we're going to make sure the people get a right to vote. That's been going on since 2008, and here it is now 2018. And yet the citizens of Alabama have not had the right to vote on the lottery. Well, this is one governor. this is one person. Once you elect us, it's something you don't have to worry about. There will be a bill that will be centered around the lottery, but it will be called an education lottery. Therefore, it then would enhance funding in our education budget. The legislators are mandated to do two things when they go into session each year: pass a general fund budget and pass an education budget. Those are the two things that they must do: general fund, education. The third thing that they will do once we are elected in November of this year, but we want you to get out and vote June the 5th so that we can win the primary in order to be in the general election. Then, once you do that, and we are elected in November, come January the 20th, of course, will be the inauguration. And soon thereafter, the legislators will be called into session. And I'm going to give them a week to come up with some type of bill for lottery. If not, then the governor's office will write up a bill, we'll give it to the legislators to put in the hopper, to be discussed, and then put before the people for a vote. It'll be a very simple bill, because you take the best of every state, the best of Florida, the best of Tennessee, the best of Mississippi, the best of Georgia, and you put together a good bill. Nothing is perfect, but it will be far better than what either one of those states have. Therefore, then we got funding for our education system. But it's not the answer to funding education. The answer to funding education is that people must be fairly taxed throughout the state. We are taking public dollars, education dollars now, and putting it elsewhere. Putting it in charter schools, we're putting it in private schools, and there's nothing wrong with charter and private schools. I just happen to be a public education person. I believe in our public education system. It did well by me. It did well by a lot of my friends, and a lot of people I know have done well from public education. It's just a matter of how we apply ourselves. And the application that we're given from the teachers that teach us. I will never forget, it was my high school English teacher that helped provide my way through college, because my parents could not afford it. We were too poor. And I completed a 4-year degree with $20 from my parents. But,
wow.
But I will always remember my high school English teacher who helped us get through school. So I owe a lot to public education. I believe teachers need to have every tool that they can have at their disposal to teach our children, our children's children, and their children, and their children. Teachers need to be paid well. They don't need to be looking for a job in Mississippi. They don't need to be looking for a job in Tennessee. They don't need to be looking for a job in Georgia or Florida or some other state. You know, we used to say, thank God for Mississippi. Now Mississippi is saying, thank God for Alabama.
Wow.
So the roles have reversed. But Alabama is not a poor state, so we need not fall for that trick anymore. Alabama is a very wealthy state. God didn't stop passing out brains when he got to people in Alabama. We have more automobile industries in the state of Alabama than any other state. We have more first-tier industry that supply these automobile industries than any state in the union.
Wow.
Somewhere down the line, we failed to properly tax those folks, but we are paying them at least $90,000 to $100,000 per job that they create. Now, what if we took that $100,000 and invested it into small businesses in our communities? Then our communities will flourish. You go into some communities now where businesses have left. There are empty buildings. They have become a nuisance, and the cities can't even afford to tear them down. So they just let them stand. They got graffiti all over. The windows are broken out because we failed to invest in our communities. And we could take those same dollars that we give to employer Y, who's going to create 3,000 jobs. Think about it. Now, the people that are unemployed, how are they going to get to where these jobs are in North Alabama? The majority of the people who are unemployed are in South Alabama. The median family household income in some of our counties, especially in the Black Belt, is no more than $10,000 a year. Now, how can a family of four live off of $10,000 a year? And yet, we hear people say, but we need to help the poor. We need to help the people in the black belt. What have we been doing? It's not that they have moved. They can't move. But we moved. We moved away from our communities. And so one of the things that the Fields campaign is doing and looking at is that we're going to create a commuter rail so that a young person who lives in Marengo County or a young person who lives in Choctaw County, if they get a job in Huntsville, Alabama, or they get a job in Birmingham, Alabama, or they get a job in Florida, they could get on a commuter rail and be at either one of those places at the longest an hour and a half away. They don't have to crank the car up. They don't have to do anything. Just go get on the commuter rail and take off. It will be cost effective. It will help the environment. The environment will be much cleaner because we even know, and let me digress here, there are several communities in our state right now where people are suffering from the exposure to either some chemical waste, some fuel waste, where fuel lines have been ruptured and people are getting sick, and just dumping on areas where the people can't afford to fight for themselves. And that's wrong. And we got to do something about that. And under the Fields administration, that's something you will never have to worry about, that the citizens will not have to fight on their own. The governor's office will be fighting for them. And we're not going to take advantage of the people of Alabama. We want Alabama to be made whole. We want Alabama to prosper. And when one part of Alabama is hurting, the whole entire Alabama will be hurting. So when one part of Alabama is prospering, the whole entire Alabama will prosper. Sure, everyone won't be doctors, everyone won't be lawyers, everyone will not be air conditioner repairmen, everyone will not be refrigeration repairmen, everyone will not be welders, but everyone has a talent. And we must bring that talent out of them. Not to continue to bore you, but another thing that we're looking at is sentence reform. We must find a way to reform the way that we sentence people to prison. We have young men and women who are serving life sentences in prison for some little petty crime. But due to the Alabama law, we have the 3-strike rule. Once you get convicted for the 3rd time, you spend the rest of your life in prison. You go to prison without the possibility of parole. And that's wrong. Our prisons right now are 175% overcrowded. Why? Because it's the way that we sentence these young people to prison. When one of our former governors wanted to do an $800 million bond issue to build more prisons, that gave me the answer that I knew that was there. Why would I want to invest money in prisons when I'm not investing money in my schools, when I'm not investing money in education?
That's right.
So I'm doing this because I want to lock more people up. I want to put more people away so that I can live this lavish life. But that's not the way we're made, folks. We're all human. We're all human, and we're made by one creator, and that is God. And God requires of us to do certain things, and we're not doing that. We're not taking care of the poor. We want to talk about abortion. We want to talk about childbirth. We want to talk about pro-life or pro-choice, but no one wants to talk about taking care of that child when they're walking down the street to get drinking water for their homes, when there's no running water at their house. We're not wanting to help that child who is walking down the street and don't have clothing, don't have food. We're not wanting to help that child who needs a home. But we want to make sure, we want to argue the issue about abortion. That's not an issue we should be arguing. God has already mandated that. The issue is that we are not doing what God has required of us, and that is to do good, to do justly, and walk humbly before Him. Read your Bible, and it will explain it to you in the book of Micah. So, where do we go from here? June the 5th, you're going to make a decision for a positive change in Alabama that will last for a lifetime. And that is, you will vote for James Fields. That is our prayer. As I said earlier, without change, nothing changes.
Okay.
And it's time for a change.
Wow.
And so, what we need to do is to step forward into the future. So once we do that, after June 5th, then we go to work to make sure that we win the general election and to put these things in place so that Alabama can move forward. And that's why you can visit our webpage. It's James Fields for Governor 2018.com or James Fields, just jamesfieldsforgovernor.com. Any way you can find us, either way.
I wanted to ask you something.
Yes.
Give us your educational background.
My educational background, I'm a high school graduate from Hansville High School. Mm-hmm. And from there I attended Gaston State Community College for 2 years, majoring in law enforcement and sociology. And then I continued my education at Jacksonville State University, where I received a Bachelor of Science degree in criminology and law enforcement and sociology. Then I spent 2 years in the United States Marine Corps Officer School.
Oh, really?
At Quantico, Virginia. And then once I left there, I returned home and went to work for the state of Alabama in the Department of Industrial Relations, and spent the first 4 years working for the Employment Service, and that was connecting people with jobs with employers with people, and people with employers. And really enjoyed my service there because I always was community minded and always enjoyed helping people. And then my last 24 years with the state, I was an OSI agent with the Unemployment Fraud Division, Office of Special Investigations. And in '07 I had the opportunity to run for office, and thank God I had enough time to retire. And we retired in '07 after 28 years and a few months.
Okay.
But we had a great career with the state of Alabama. We were the Bishop Barron Award winner, which goes to a public service employee for an employee that go above and beyond their job as far as reaching out in the community and helping people. And we were a recipient of the 1996 Bishop Barron Award.
Wow, you've done a lot. You've been in college, you've done a lot.
Yeah.
Working with people, I like hearing that.
Yes, I love working with people. I've done it all my life. I served the World Methodist Church for one quintriennium, 5 years, and then I served the General Church for 2 quadrenniums, 8 years, which afforded us to travel all over the world to do ecumenical work and holistic conferences, trying to make heads or tails of other denominations and faith. Then I started serving the church as a pastor and have been doing that for the last 17 years.
Okay, now I'm going to tell you something. My people like to reach out and touch people.
Yes.
And I know you got a lot of guys helping you. We're going to need a phone number because they like to call and talk. I know you're saying website, but who number we going to give out? Which one of these numbers we're going to give out that's going to run across this screen? One of y'all. Come on with it.
334-430-6060.
Okay, now you all are going to be able to call and be able to reach out and touch. Now, my TV viewers do call. Mm-hmm. They do pay attention. I've been on 8 years. Thank you all for letting me come in your living room. But I'm trying to bring you someone that will make you and not break you. That's Jazzyred word from here on in. You do a lot. It was a pleasure. You know, usually they'll hear me saying okay and yeah, and I was just mesmerized. I was listening to you. So, wow, we got someone running for governor. Wow. That's qualified.
Yes.
Need to be in there. Get that phone number out again. Your name is?
James C. Fields, Jr.
Give the phone number out again.
Phone number is 334-430-6060. We need your help to win this campaign for governor of the great state of Alabama, and let us together move Alabama forward.
All right, now Jazzyred is endorsing this man. I want y'all to get out and vote for him. You're going to see him more on the show. As much as I can catch him, we will. I'll be on vacation. Maybe I can come to his home state and interview him there. Jazzyred.